In terms of survivability, Fallout 4 has it all. Whether that be using all different chems to survive the wasteland or utilizing weapons of mass destruction, but what if you choose to ignore all forms of damage or healing? As Starfield dawns closer to its release date, I thought it'd be a great idea to continue to punish myself with one final bang before the almighty game reaches us. Well, you might ask what challenge I would have in mind this time around. Today, I will be bringing you to see whether Fallout 4 can be beat with no damage taken. With the success of Barbie, we started our usual day with a character creation, but with a twist, which after we met with our local butt plug salesman who was happier than ever to see me, after which a light drop of nuclear warfare came. The hubby got capped and Babu got the milk carton treatment. While we wait in our frozen hyper capsule, I think it'd be a great time to look at our one and only rule, which is that if I take damage, I must reload to the most recent checkpoint / save. Strap in and get your helmets, as washing may lower your IQ. Once leaving our contraption with freezer burn, we didn't even last 10 minutes before our first death. Somehow these half-baked nuclear cockroaches proved to be quite more problematic than I expected. But after some heavy punches like Minecraft Steve, we upgraded our arsenal and grabbed the latest rolly, after which I trotted with my companion Dogmeat towards Concord. Once in the Museum of Freedom, I debated my life choices while exploring my freedoms within the loading screens from the sheer power the locals exhibited. Yet this section was going significantly smoother than I anticipated. We talked with the brother Preston, who pointed us to the power armor, but unfortunately the power armor set our HP to full, which meant we had to abandon our suit and face the bearded dragon head on. It was more difficult to reach the walking lizard than taking him out. Outside the museum, we received a taste of what was ahead, with borderline human right violating NPCs with near pristine aim. The raiders were no joke, but through abusing our position, we slowly took out the backup and attracted the lizard, which I cheesed through my common strat of mowing the fucker down with my minigun. Once ditching Concord and arriving at Diamond City, we began our search for Nick at the Boston subway certified by Jared. This would be the real test of my mental prosperity on whether this challenge would be viable. And surprisingly, yes. Entering the local metro, the Mafia decided to give us a warm welcome with near perfect amount of aimbot, which required me to peek like a CSGO pro to pick off my targets slowly one by one. Once in the vault, things kept sailing smoothly, as I showed these fedora wearing pussies what a drive-by really looked like. With a mild number of resets, I reached Nick, who helped us trench through the rest of the vault and face the infamous crime boss of McDonald's, Skinny Malone. Unfortunately, Fallout 4 decided that killing our boy Malone too quickly would break the Geneva Convention and decided to make Skinny irresistible to all forms of damage. But Todd thought I suffered enough and blessed me with the ability to produce damage once more. Nick showed us his office, where we smiled through his heart-wrenching questions and aimed our crosser towards Kellogg. Once reaching the abandoned warehouse, a crusty sock was blown into our journey. These walking used condoms thoroughly nuked any confidence that this run would have semblance of ease to it. From pure drive-bys to peak mathematical perfected shots, not only to soft locking myself multiple times due to safe scumming, here I learned a valuable lesson when using range. Through some magical timings and pre-planned minds, I was finally able to make some progress as I inched closer to finding Mr. Clean. I stumbled upon our greatest find yet, the Fat Man, which meant I was locked and loaded to show Budget Pitbull what Worldwide was all about. The second the door swung wide open, I unleashed the greatest nuclear bomb that has dropped since Oppenheimer. With my revenge arc finished, we grabbed the ideal support technician headset from the remains of Kellogg and collected vital info about the Institute. Once we yearned our heads into freedom, the anti-communist grifters arrived to exterminate the remaining supply of copium for communism within the Commonwealth. As for me, I re-upped on some much needed supplies and headed for our savior Amari, who was able to drip feed me Kellogg's life story, but I didn't really care, so I speedrun right through to grab what we needed. Next on our bucket list was a familiar land of the Taco Bell restroom. Somehow I managed to dodge every single extraterrestrial life form that existed, after which Virgin pointed us towards local green text genetics, which receives a solid rating of a strong 6 to a light 5, only simply due to this invisible piece of shit. Luckily, we began to see some positive strides. We were able to secure the bag, which brought us the most important portion of the game, our faction. For the first time in the channel's history, we locked the good fellows of the Minuteman. We began this bizarre adventure of being a landlord and rolled towards the first settlement that needed our help. The settlement was nothing more than a few ghouls and some pretentious raiders. At first, these recoupments of property didn't seem so bad, until we reached Virgin's extended family. The second I walked towards Shrek and friends, I was shown that I was not welcome to the swamp. Our only choice was to use rain, but as my supply of sniper ammo dwindled down, so did my will to live. From every facet of torture I've experienced, dog attacks, surprise sniper shots, and nades that defy the rules of trigonometry, I was eventually able to decimate every foe that decided to embark towards my path of destruction. I returned to Preston, who graciously offered me a promotion to general. Right, me, as the leader of the Minutemen. Well, this seems like a fucking disaster waiting to happen now. Well, As the general, my first task was to retake the castle, which I'm not sure why anyone would want to take back or even live in the shithole. Once in the castle, we were introduced to the entire population of oversized hermit crabs which ran at lightning speed. We took care of the rest of the fake crab meat and we spawned something straight out of my nightmares. Sure, Queen was an issue. These little fuckers were the worst. The second my eyes witnessed these critters bum rush me, it felt like my brain would turn off and I was just unable to aim at this point. This clip simply summarizes the entire experience I had with this mission. After taking down the Blessed High Queen, we finally got permission from Preston to infiltrate the institution. We met up with our sons, looted the local area, and grabbed the initial mission from Father. I know, I could have skipped the institution missions and instead continue with the Minutemen, but I really didn't think that starting World War III with 1 HP didn't seem like the greatest idea. Instead, I let things simmer for now and just do whatever my child wanted. So the assignment. Well, I had to recover a raider stint who went AWOL. Sounds simple in principle, like it always does, but it really wasn't. Once I arrived, I had to go through Iron Man with a facial laser beam and a legendary raider who took more bullets than I should have. Next was the walk of shame through the favelas, but on water. Unfortunately, I was matched against Chris Kyle of the Sea, who was constantly able to hit miraculous shots across from his bungalow. Through small pop shots and small advancements, we took care of our problem. We finally reached the ship, and through clever hiding, I was able to vanquish all my foes. We reached our much needed refugee, but I was more interested in the gear he possessed. Unfortunately, the dickhead next to me wasn't on the table for negotiations and deactivated the poor raider, which meant we had to shoot our way out. And miraculously, I was able to dodge every single bullet that blew past me and demolish these fools with my mighty shotgun. With our mission completed, we returned to Father. We decided to have a deep conversation about synths and got gaslit into finding more synths. Reaching Bunker Hill, we met up with the sodomized bowling ball and headed for the doors. Unfortunately, at this point, the railroad became our enemy. I did try to apologize to our sympathizer of the synths, but our relationship was too far gone, which meant we had to go in guns blazing. I used range to my advantage to slowly clear through the railroad that stood in our way. Yet once inside, I decided to let each squad handle each other while I watched and picked off the remaining stragglers once everything was done. Eventually reaching the Fantastic Four, I had a choice here. Betray these helpless individuals or deal with the bald fuck who was absolutely going to decimate me the second I tried to save them. Surprisingly, just unloading on budget Mr. Clean Jr. before initiating the conversation solves the problem rather quickly. With Bunker Hill done, we finally were able to tell our son how we really feel. Yeah, I just shot him instead. Probably more times than I needed. For one final mark of disrespect, I took his coat. Sure, it was a little stained, but I looked good. Returning to Preston, I just said, yeah, they're a bunch of assholes. And Preston was like,
as usual, I got word of a settlement that needs our help. Nice. I'll mark it on your map.
For the next hour, we saved settlement after settlement, till we had an army readily available for our fight against the Institute. We returned to the castle for a battle of the Eons, but some prep was needed. We crawled through the armory, which was vital for our success, but one final challenger awaited my presence. Sarge the artillery bot was quite easy to take down, but I began to face a problem from the blast radius. Could this be the point where our run just ends? Of course not. Our Giga Chad status proved to be no issue with the rocket propelling power, and we took him down. This victory provided us with much needed resources to start prepping for the invasion of the synths. Okay guys, so here's the thing. I forgot to hit the record button, and not just once, but twice for this battle. I decided to endure more pain for your enjoyment. Also, if you have made it this far, please consider leaving a comment that you have smelled Sandy's feet at least once. They're gonna be so confused. I'll be honest, this castle section is pretty much impossible on 1 HP due to the giga amount of aimbot synths and couriers. Not only due to the fact with all those settlements I've saved only managed to provide me with like 7, 8 homies. The ultimate strat that I came to conclude was going to be the most superior was just placing a shit ton of turrets everywhere and watch it like how my wife's boyfriend instructs me to. The only issue that I faced during this great invasion was that every time I wanted to aid the squad, I would quickly be shot down by any synth that would fart my way. Luckily, the turrets were enough to send back the walking microwaves back to their homes, which meant it was finally our turn to turn towards the offensive. Nick and I crawled through massive amounts of shit, ghouls, and one-shotting synths to reach the control panel, where I was able to teleport the homies in and begin the ultimate raid. With severe burnout at this point from this egregious amount of resets, we blasted through the remaining amounts of synths that stood before us and planted the charge on the reactor of the Institute. As we watched the building blow from the inside, we accomplished our goal of beating Fallout 4 without taking any damage. Whew. My god, was this run exhausting, and a lot harder than I anticipated it to be. Regardless, I hope all of you enjoyed the video, and a sub and a like would be very appreciated. But now we wait for the liftoff of Starfield, and if anyone would be interested in watching me stream the game when it comes out, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next one, but in space.